Hello, everyone, and welcome to RHAP's coverage of Australian Survivor Brains V Brawn. It is episode 4, week 2. Spoiler alert. Definitely click away if you haven't seen the episode. We're talking about the episode. Nash's reign of terror is over. It was a short era, but a mighty one. And I did say I would buy Rob a water if Nash could survive on more tribal council, and unfortunately it was like a unanimous vote out. But to talk about all of that, I have my fellow recapper on the first podcast of every week that we do here on RHAP. Does the great Chappell. Chappell, how are you?
I'm good. But I have questions about this reign of terror. It didn't last long enough for me to consider it a reign. We had a couple episodes of terror, I would say.
It was like
Two.
more like a drizzle of
Yeah.
terror.
Right,
I understand
exactly.
that's not how reign is spelt,
Yeah,
but
but
for the
y'all
pun.
understand. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was just a little drip drop here and there, some terror in the first episode, some terror in this episode, a little bit of nothing in the middle. But yeah, it's over. Sad to see Nash go, honestly. I like a chaotic player. And it's kind of weird that we've kind of lost both of our chaotic players back to
Yeah.
back. It's like they were the stars of these few episodes, and now they are very much gone. And I don't know, maybe they did enough to be memorable for the future. Will people talk about these last two boots? I don't know.
Yeah, it's interesting to me because I feel like that's defined the energy of the season so far so much. Like 3 of the
Mm-hmm.
4 boots buried themselves. So in terms of playing the game, it's just been like, don't bury yourself. And I think AJ's weaponizing that specifically, where he's like, if I can just push Rich in front of me and he's going to bury himself, and I can just like go to the back of the queue in terms of
Mm-hmm.
like the men that they want to get out who are pissing the women off in various ways, then, I can save myself. So it's just literally been about surviving above this negative energy, except for Candy, and I guess managing that and getting through it. And I'm so interested about how the season changes because Nash and Kent, for better or worse, I think sucked up a lot of the energy and were such major characters and kind of put out what they call, the most explosive start to the season and this kind of like volatile vibe we've been talking about. And without the two of them and possibly Rich soon, I feel like those are the 3 characters. How will the energy change, and will it be for the better of the season? I think maybe it will be, because I don't know how long we can maintain that, combustibleness that they brought. I don't know if I could take 24 episodes of the kind of energy they were bringing. It was entertaining, but it's a lot.
Mm-hmm. I feel like that's something you save for later on in the season. I think that if I'm a fan of Australian Survivor and I'm thinking about going on the show, these two people are a cautionary tale. I think that they
Yes.
burned hot and bright and fast, and then they're done. And to be a fan of the show and say like, oh, I've been applying for this many years and I've always been watching it, and money can't buy this one thing. Like, to say that you are such a big fan and that you have all this energy for the game, you're now learning that you can't just go and use all that energy in the first couple days, right? Because now you won't survive it. Like there's a world where you come out the gate swinging like this very fast, and then somehow you manage to will your way through, and it's a very entertaining run. Or you don't, and you flop and you fall right on your face, and we're not even talking about you after week 2. This is a very long season of television, and to go out in the first 4 episodes, to me, I think like it's not worth the amount of energy you put into being entertaining. I think you gotta come with a different tactic next time.
Yeah, a lot of players, and certainly the last 3 boots, have definitely given a directive of like what not to do and how not to play and how not to start probably any type of Survivor, let alone, a very long Australian Survivor game. So I think we've learned that.
Mm-hmm.
At the top of the show, I want to say subscribe, weknowglobalsurvivor.com. I want to thank everyone. We're now into our 2nd week of coverage. So much great feedback about the first week and this new stuff that we're trying out in terms of the recaps, the feedback show, the exit, and people have been really enjoying that on their commutes. So I'm really glad people are enjoying it, and thank you to those who have reached out and that have been enjoying the show. But Chappell, should we be talking about Brawn? Let's talk about Brawn. Let's talk about Nash. Let's get to the Nash of it all. What did you think about everything he tried? Like, what did he try? So let's just cover what he was doing. He threw the challenge, maybe. Honestly, TBD. We'll talk about it. He did the crying thing about his kids. What else did he do? The fake idol, which was clearly just his note. Those are the main things. What did you think? What worked for you, if anything?
What worked for me? The editing. Because why is Australian Survivor trying to get us to believe that this man has an idol when we see him like sneak off and he opens the part of it, like, and then it cuts to commercial. I'm like, wait, did he have one for real? Because my first instinct wasn't, oh, that's great, he found 2 idols on the same trial. I was like, wait, are there really two idols on this beach at the same time? This is weird. Why would he have one and Polly have one? That's what my issue was. So I like that the editors tried to tell the story in a way that made it suspenseful. Will he play his idol? We didn't quite know. But aside from that, I don't think anything really worked for me. The idea that you threw a challenge. I can't even formulate the words to say it because it's so absurd to me. The idea that you would throw a challenge knowing that you're walking around with your idol around your neck for no reason is insane to me. Like, if anything, you should be trying to win that challenge so that you don't have to use this idol and you won't have this huge ass target on your back. You shouldn't have even had the idol around your neck in the first place, so we shouldn't even be there. So the fact that you decided in that moment to throw a challenge is insane to me. So I try to assume that maybe you're trying to retcon this thing and be like, oh yeah, like, in retrospect, I know really I was throwing the challenge, but I'm like, but what is that going to do for you? How do you accomplish anything by saying, hey guys, Ursula, hey, you're my number one. By the way, put you at risk. So just for kicks, just because I felt like people weren't playing the game enough, I threw the challenge. You could have went home. Yeah, sorry. But now, don't you see how loyal and social I was? Like, Nash, reel it in. So I don't like any of it. Like, why did you admit that? Why are people admitting all of their faults here, Shannon?
Yeah, I think if I were to order it all under the incredibly low bar, like, I don't want to like think that I'm ordering it to something I like, right? So already we're starting low. But like, probably the worst thing was quote unquote throwing the challenge or telling people you threw the challenge. First, like,
what's
if you
worse,
were actually
throwing it or telling people that you threw it after you threw it?
Oh my God. I mean, those are two separate
why did you
that's
throw
really
it?
gonna throwing it when you need safety and now you've just burned an idol. If he had done that, put Ursula at risk. Like, it was kind of amazing that it went the way that it did. There's no way he could have assured that. Maybe from the idol, of course, but not for an ally, and you lose your idols. Throwing it is terrible. Telling people, I guess, only buried an already sunken game, but Petey's gonna hate that. Ursula's like, I almost went home. So it only pushed any potential allies even further away. I guess, in the fact that like he was already sunk at that point, I would say throwing it is like, if he did, maybe the worst possible thing, because like if you didn't do that, again, like, quote unquote, you might have an idol now. Like, you might be saved now. So maybe that, and then telling people makes no sense. And also he was like, I did it to see where the lines were. But the funniest thing about that is that the lines were that Kate and Morgan were with him and that Zen and Petey weren't. And yet that's not how this is like panned out.
No.
Yeah, it didn't teach anything. So all of that's terrible. Neutral, I would say the crying about his kids. I mean, all that showed was that the Brawn tribe have empathy. So like, that's fun. That was the thing.
He tried to make it seem like it was like, calculated crying. And I tend to not to believe that when I watch reality TV shows. I think that if you're able to cry in those moments, it's because a lot of that is true. Those are true emotions. Now, you might be weaponizing those emotions, but I don't think he was faking the tears. I think like he's like, I can cry pretty easily. Yeah, a lot of people cry easily. But that didn't say, like, you didn't say I am faking. I forced myself to cry. I don't miss my kids. I'm sure he did, right? And so I think at that point, he like really trying to spin a narrative to the confessional to where we're like, all right, he's still in control, because Control had left the building a long time ago.
Yeah. So that, I mean, like, probably the best thing Nash did is that some people liked him. Even Ursula was like, I like that he does that, but like, you're flying too close to the sun. Pedia said he likes that kind of gameplay. Jesse was like, I like him. He's really funny. Yeah. So that's the best.
Petey actually didn't like that kind of
by the end.
Petey
No, he
didn't. About the throne challenge.
Yeah.
He was like, if you know anything about me, I'm really big on integrity. I was like, Petey, come on, man. You're using the I word here in Survivor?
Yeah, it's Australian Survivor drink. We got our first integrity shout out. I know we've had a value shout out, but
I need to go check it. Yeah, I need to go check it to make sure he said the word integrity, because like, if we want to turn this into a drinking game, just me and you. Like, you don't have to include Puya and Mike, but every week I'll come here with a drink in hand, bright and early.
Yeah, if you're going to drink every time an Australian Survivor athlete is like aghast at some type of gameplay, you'll be drunk. You'll be very drunk.
We'll get to Morgan in just a second.
Yeah, yeah. But the thing as well is that Exactly. You'll be on the floor. But like again, like it's not like this gameplay, as Paulie said, it's like there can be like it's not that throwing a challenge is so evil. It's just like why would you do it now? Like throw it for a fair purpose. When you throw it because you want to save people on the other side, when you swap, that makes sense. Like Paulie said, it was too early. There was no function. It was bad strategy. Do it strategically if you need to. It doesn't make you a bad person. It's not even, there's no integrity about it. It's just more that this move made no sense. But then, okay, so then the biggest thing was the fake idol. From the get-go, I was like, that's clearly his note from before. I felt like I clocked it. There's not going to be a second idol, right?
There's not going to be a second idol, right? That's what I said. I said, how?
Well, he doesn't know that there's another one. But
yeah, but I'm like, look, how have they found two of them? And I don't think the Brains have sniffed their idol yet. I was
Brains
like, what are we doing?
Idol.
So I was like, this would have been the third idol on the same. I was like, there's no way. There's no way that there would be two of them in play at the same time right now. If Nash had pulled that off, that'd have been crazy.
Yeah, I don't know why they needed to even kind of try and trick the audience. I don't know if maybe the casuals will believe that. For me, from the get-go, I was like, I was clearly the note, because that's what you would do, right? So let's talk about this as a move, because this is what Rupert did, right? This is the rock in the pocket, not the pocket rocket, which, by the way, Rob said we should be calling idols pocket rocket, and I've had so many messages.
I don't think you should say that.
So many, about that there's a vulgar interpretation.
Yeah,
thank you, Rob. Thank you for the
Rob.
DM.
Rob is a nasty man. Do you notice that? Like, he's very vulgar. He's like, I'm like, okay, I would have never said that. Now, so that's not my.
No, now I know. I know. So not a pocket rocket, but Rupert once had the rock in the pocket, and the way to do the fake idol in this way is you want them to think that you found something, but you don't want them to know about it. And I think Nash was doing a lot of, I might have it, but it's like, if you have it, you're not going to say, I might have it. Unless you have it and you're trying to get them off you so you don't have to play it. But knowing Nash almost definitely will play it, knowing he has a precedent of, in that moment of fear, playing it from the last tribal council, it's clear he doesn't have something, but he wants you to think that he has something so that you don't vote for him, or that you split your votes and he can come over the top. So in saying that, parts of it I thought actually were good. One of the things I really liked that he did was he told Kristen, I have it. And that I like, because then it's like you told an ally in confidence, but God forbid it gets out. Like, you don't want her to leak it. And if she does, that's good. That can make people actually fearful. But I think saying things like, just vote for me, or I might have it, but I can't show you. That's the kind of thing where it's like, you don't have it, but you want us to think you have it so that we don't vote for you. In the end, it didn't matter because they were unanimously splitting, right? But I just think that I would go a little bit of a different way. Jake O'Kane kind of did this. It's the kind of thing where you want it, like when Paulie comes and he's like, I've got it, but I'll show you. It's like, not that. What you want to do is like, I don't have it. Oh no, did you accidentally see me having it? And it's making them think you found it, but you don't want them to know that you found it. And they actually have the upper hand, but actually you have the upper hand. Do you get what I'm saying? I think it makes sense.
I get what you're saying, but
it works. Yeah.
The execution just wasn't there. Especially, no, you want to talk about precedent? Let's look back on the first time you had an idol. You were wearing it around your neck, parading around, being like, I'm not going home. Don't know what y'all are about to do. But this time you're like, I don't know. I might show it to you. I might not. See, that automatically is like, you're telling me right now, you have all the power in the game right now. Like, you essentially, like, he even, like, Jonathan calls it out. Like, you want everybody to vote on you so you can choose who's going home. He's like, I don't know, maybe I might, I don't know, I don't, who knows? I don't know what I could have something. I was like, hey man, if I have an idol and everybody knows, or I think everybody knows, or the rumor is that everybody knows, and I know I'm going to play it, why am I being cagey about it? Like, tell them, like, split the votes. I have an idol. You have to split the votes now. Like, you have to split the vote. I'm wearing it around my neck. Why are we pretending that I could not have? Maybe I don't have it. Maybe you should put all of it. It's like, no, split the vote. I'm coming over the top. Now do something about it. That's what you need to be saying. This whole, like, trying to be coy about it and being like, okay, but if I don't have it, don't you want to just all put the votes on me? Like, no. Why would we do that?
That's what that's what you think. Now you're like, if you're saying put all the votes on me, now you're like, it's obvious that, you want us to think that's what you want. So that means we can't vote for you because you might have the idol, because you know that we shouldn't, like, you don't want us to actually vote for you because you have no protection. I mean, Paulie knows, like, he has his own idol. Like, Paulie can be pretty sure about it, but I think everyone else can tell, as you're saying, by the difference to last time, by the caginess, and by trying to tell everyone, like, I have an idol, vote for me. It's like, you're trying to scare us, so we don't vote for you because you're horrible. Yeah.
Right. You can't see it. I'm like, but since when? When Paulie said like, hey, whip it out, let's play with it. I was like, oh my God, Paulie. But also I kind of understood.
Pocket
It's like,
rocket?
he's like, yeah, he said, take that thing out and let us see it. You real? Let's show it to everybody. Let's see what we got. Let's see what we're working with here. And Nash was like, I was like, don't be shy now. You was whipping it out the other day. What's going on? So I don't know, man. I felt like this whole thing was a fumble. I do think that there are some very, like you said, there's some good things here that Nash was doing. Obviously, he's good at making friends. The people who liked him. Jesse, he's really working on him the whole time. Like, hey, I gotta get him on my side. By the end, he's like, I like him. I just, can't work with him, but I like him.
Yeah.
I hate to see him go. But how did you feel when Nash is like, okay, here's why you should keep me in the game. Noonan, I'm the best social player y'all got here. Okay. So when we get to the merge, Paulie, Noonan, I'm who you want at the merge to go make those connections. Y'all not gonna make those connections without me. Paulie's like, oh, you think you have a great social game? He's like, yeah. He's like, oh, you're very confident. I love that. I love that for you. That's so precious. I love that. I was like, I don't know if this is a good argument. Like, bring me, because everybody's gonna want to work with the guy who had the idol around his neck at the mat chat.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm the one who people will want to work with. Me, who's about to be unanimously voted against, even by my allies. It doesn't work from that perspective. And even then, obviously, like, a swap makes more sense than the merge, which is ages away. But like, yeah, okay, so fine. When we get to a change in the game into a swap, I'm gonna be the one to bring people over. As much as that's like patently false, it's also just like such a minor benefit, even if it were true. Like, if you can't really work with someone but they did actively bring that, like, I still don't think it would be enough, because at the end of the day, like, Paulie and Noonan seem to have really good social games. Like, they can probably rely on themselves, so they don't need that. It's not worth every other negative, let alone the fact that it seems like, Nash might be an unreliable narrator. I don't know how to tell you that. I don't know.
No, well, there were moments. I thought he was highly entertaining, because there is the one confessional I think he does where he's like, yeah, like, I'm a great salesman. I could sell anything to anybody, but this is kind of tough. He's like,
I'm praying. He literally went and prayed at a point. Like, there was no
that was amazing.
suspense about this. So yeah, it really felt like like Nash knew, like, it was a unanimous split vote. Like, even if he is throwing them off with the idol, and even if there aren't possible red flags on like how to play this thing, again, some of the stuff I thought was good, but yeah, like, I thought he was too cagey. It was obvious at the point where you're like, no one can see it. It felt obvious. But they can split, so it doesn't even matter. And I'd love to talk about that with the group, because I felt like they split perfectly. And I really credit Noonan, because Noonan, while the split did not go well last time, I think Noonan is a very good splitter. So I was happy that she did it this way, because I was like, it should be a quasi split. So the best way to split the vote, so you have your 6, and then you have a 4, but the other 3, possibly individually, seem like they'll turn on Nash, right? So what you want to do is you want to have at least, obviously, your 4, a strong 4 on Nash. Ironically, this 4 still included Kate and Morgan, which last time did not go so well for them. But like, surely that duo, surely that duo on making the same mistake twice. We never saw the fallout of what happened, of the fact that they'd betrayed them. But anyway, they put Kate and Morgan in, but that is 4 of their 6. So that means that even if the other 4 are on Morgan, then your 4 he'd need to play an idol, and all of the other 4 would need to be against you. So that's already right. And then you have 2 on Ursula, and then if the others happen to flip, then you're in a good spot. And it seems like they will. So he'd both have to have an idol, and he'd have to have at least 2 people with him, which seems very unlikely. So if that happens, you're doomed. But yeah, if he has, say, both Kristen and Ursula still with him, and he has an idol, he will win. But if not, you've given yourself that out where if he has an idol, you can split with the others, or if he doesn't have an idol, he's going home anyway, even if he has all of his 4. So you've given that out. The one thing that would be better on the split, which I understand why they didn't do it, but the one thing that would be better is to put Kristen and PD on Ursula, because that would be a 5 to 4 to 1 split. It ends up being a 7 to 2 to 1 split. And that would just mean that, say, Kristen and Ursula are still with him, but PD alone flips. Then you have 4 on Nash, and then 3 on Ursula, and then their 3 on Morgan, but your 3 wins out on the revote if he plays an idol. In this way, because they vote for Nash, it would be, say that happens, just PD flips alone. It would be 5 on Nash, and that he plays an idol, say, then only 2 on Ursula, and then their 3 win the day. So you're piling more on Nash that might be nullified by an idol, which means that you can't just have one person flip over. You need 2 of his numbers to flip. But in saying that, I understand why they, like, PD and Kristen don't want to vote for Ursula. So for social purposes, I hope this has all made sense. I think it has. For social purposes, you need it. It makes sense to have your strong 4, always have your strong 4 on Nash, put 2 others, hope the others come over and vote for Nash. And I think that balanced a lot of different things and was a really good quasi split from Noonan. And I'm very on board with how they did it. Okay,
well,
that made sense.
Noonan, well, how do you feel about the initial read that, oh, we messed up the split the first time, we're not doing that this time, we're just going to put all the votes on him? They weren't talking about splitting until he found his fake idol.
Well, but they don't really split. Like, you know, they still have 4 against his, like, that's the thing, is like they have a solid 4. Like at that point, the other numbers are superfluous. Like their 6, in theory, Morgan and Kate are not ever flipping. So as long as, and to be fair, Morgan's like the target. So you can trust that you're 4. So it's not really a split. It's just like you have like the minimum amount of numbers necessary on Nash. And instead of just piling more, you start like investing into the beta of a quasi split. And if the others come over, which it really seems likely they will, even better. I mean, the others are giving active information that he threw the challenge, quote unquote. So I think you can, like, they're reading really well that the others will come over. It's making it a full split. And if not, then you know, you have the 4 on him anyway. So it's fine. So
yeah. That throwing of the challenge really buried him with Morgan. That was just, that's why I'm looking back at the Candy thing and I'm like, look, that was definitely a tribe strength vote. That, you know, she was like, she got to go. I don't do losing. Nash is a big guy. We can use him. And when she finds out, oh, you're throwing challenges, that means you being a big guy is not useful to me. You can go. You're expendable because you're playing around. I'm thinking we're coming in here. She basically said, all I do is win, no matter what, you know? And he was like, I mean, if that's the game you want to play, she's like, that is the game I'm playing. You know, like, I don't understand this losing challenges thing. So yeah, I think that, you know, they probably misread Morgan from the beginning, even thinking that she would be okay with voting out Nash over Candy, just despite his attitude. Like, she's going to want to keep the tribe strong if she can. And when he admits that he was not necessarily interested in that, especially that he's targeting her, you saw her in that immunity challenge. She's strong as hell. She's like, hey, bro, you targeting me. You don't want to win. And that's not something that works with me. So they didn't have to worry about her flipping this time.
Well, there's so many things here. The first part is, like, also if he did throw the challenge, which is such a big if, but like if he did, the other issue is then he started failing at other challenges. So he only contributed to this view of him as like a complete challenge liability. Like if he could have had a hero moment in that first challenge, if that was possible, he could have really banked and used that. So that's the first part. The second part is that for Morgan, I mean, it was Ursula versus Candy for her, and we did talk about if it was a strength argument, and it seems like it might have been, given the way that Morgan cares about this. If it did end up being on fear, either the fear that Nash would come for them next, again, what has he had? He just got voted out unanimously with no idol, so that's gone. Or the fear they were at the bottom of the Noonan Alliance, they're in with the 6, what would have been 7 with Candy, in a great spot on the alpha of the split again, so that obviously was nothing. And cut to Nash immediately targeting Morgan, who voted with him last time. Like, talk about no good deed, right?
Yeah, but his social game is that strong. He was like, I don't need her. It's so funny that like, of all the people to choose, why Morgan? It just, to me, it felt like, especially after her strength in the challenge, right? That most recent immunity challenge, she did so well. A lot of them did.
The reward challenge.
Yeah, the reward challenge where they're standing on the little deals.
Cool
yeah,
challenge. Good challenges this episode, by the way.
Good challenge. And so they're standing up there, and they're like, these are like, people are like, they're jacked, they're beef, they got it. And so I'm like, of all the people, this is probably one of the few people that you probably like could just like count on everybody being like, no, I saw what they could do. I saw it in action. I'm not getting rid of them. Maybe the move here is to turn on Ursula, you know, or somebody else that you could like throw under the bus really quickly and, you know, blame something, you know, try to stay from being at the last in the pecking order. Try to put yourself like just above that person, right? You don't have a lot of wiggle room to take out any of the power players just because of, you know, the position you put yourself in. But it didn't look like Ursula had any type of social standing in the tribe either. She goes to them like, So I got this secret, and they're like,
Yeah.
Ursula, you haven't talked to us all like in days. Like, I think it was Morgan who said it. She's like, where have you been? You haven't said anything. You don't have any opinions about anything. We ask you stuff. You don't do anything. You're like Nash's puppet. And they look at Ursula like, so tell us something. And she sits there and she goes, yeah, I don't know about Nash. And they're like, like, that's the best you got? If I'm him, I'm like, hey, Ursula threw the challenge. I don't know. Make something up. But coming out to Morgan just felt like the wrong target.
Well, I just felt like Morgan was too harsh on Ursula in that moment.
Yeah.
Calling her a puppet to her face and, calling her out or not doing enough. And I'm sure that they've said a few times that like Ursula isn't really talking to people and they don't feel close to her. And they're like, oh, now that you're a possible target, you're finally doing it. I just don't know if like you have to necessarily verbalize all those things to her, even if you feel it. And like to Ursula's credit, I mean, to the whole minority, Kristen, Petey, and Ursula, there's very little they can do. They are, pushing each other, or at least pushing Nash off the sinking ship, which is all they can do at this point. Giving, again, valuable information that he's saying that he threw the challenge, voting him out here. And all that they can do is hope that they vote him out and maybe we get a non-elim this week, or they win the challenges until a hopefully early swap. I think it was around episode 7. Yeah, exactly. Wait for someone to bury themselves like AJ is doing. So I think all of these people at the bottom, whether you are an AJ or at the bottom of this Brawn tribe, you're hoping it's an earlier swap compared to Heroes versus Villains was a later swap, hoping there are non-elims, hoping you win challenges and just claw to that next phase, or someone buries themselves. In the absence of that, if they go back to a tribal council, I would be throwing a Morgan and a Kate under the bus to the Noonans and Paulies then. Because it's like, they're the ones who turned on you and actually took out Candy. Like, we had a different side. But actually, better the devil you know, right? Like, we were on a side, and they screwed that up. Like, can they be trusted? So I'd be doing that. I'm not sure how much there is there. I think you just have to claw, win challenges, not throw challenges, hope someone else blows up, and kind of claw through to hopefully a swap that's coming in the next 3-ish episodes. But there's nothing they can do. I mean, Nash has nothing. You certainly don't want to anchor your game to him, and he's going home anyway. So there's just nothing. And they did the right thing by jumping off the ship. They had the right move. But of course, it's not a good situation.
He should have jumped off the ship. He should have drowned one of them. That's what I'm saying. Like, they all had the right idea. Ursula, this is her number one. We've been led to believe that, right? She's his puppet, all that other stuff, whatever they were saying about her. And she even was like, I think I could use this to my advantage because I just need to get past this next vote, right? Like, I don't know what's coming next, but I got to survive this one. And his goal was like, let me take out somebody who seems a little bit more integrated than I am. And I was like, I don't think that's what you need to be doing. You need to be stepping over somebody to get to this next.
That's a good point. I just like Ursa's very strong in the challenges. Petey screwed up that soccer challenge that was meant to be like his thing
because he's a soccer coach. Petey, what's going on?
I'm a soccer player. Maybe he was throwing.
Petey. But maybe I think, but even that, I think if Petey's not in good, you could go and be like, hey, isn't it crazy that Petey lost to Miles? Like, that's not nuts to you. Like, Petey's, I thought he was a soccer player. He's not even good. Tell Morgan that. I think Morgan bites.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like this is all like much, much less than a % chance of working. But I agree with you that like if I was Nash, I wouldn't be going for a member of the majority, as tenuous as I feel like that should be, in terms of like the fact that Morgan and Kate have not proved their worth to this alliance so far until this point. I do think that they seem to be in with the group, and I would be like, compare me to Ursula. Unfortunately, Ursula is so strong in the challenges, but I would say you guys really aren't getting on with Ursula. Like, it's very it's very unlikely to work out. But I do think that would have been better. Do we have anything else from Brawns? Because I have some thoughts on these brains as well. Talking about soccer.
Yeah. Let's talk about the brains.
Yeah, I mean, firstly, 2 really fun challenges in this episode, I thought. The peg reward challenge was like a fun kind of endurance reward take, and like also like kind of that hero component where people can win it for you. And that made it interesting in terms of the decision, because like Logan's like, well, I want it and I want the barbecue. So that made it interesting. And then the soccer challenge was so fun. I'm really happy for Mars that he got that moment, and I'm really happy for me that the moment has passed, because there's all this promo stuff, right, that doesn't happen for ages. And like Miles is on the bubble the whole first week, but you're like, I know that he's going to score a soccer goal because I watched the previews. And there's a lot of that stuff. Like Nash and Morgan fighting was a big thing. that also made it pretty clear that Nash would like survive the first tribal council. And like in the moment, I'm actually pretty good at not thinking about that. I'm like kind of keyed into the episode. Sometimes I do, and I know a lot of other people do. So let's get the promo material done. So that was a big win in this episode for Miles and for me, that a lot of that stuff passed in this episode, and hopefully we can like not be spoiled by the marketing for much longer.
That stuff never gets me. I watch a preview or a super tease or whatever, and I'll be like, okay, and then like it'll go away and I'll never remember it. Except this one time on Dondi, this woman told this one other woman that she had a flat ass, and I was waiting on that moment the entire season. I was like, well, obviously, that moment hasn't happened. So that was like, but that's the only
that's hard to
like
forget.
Moment that stuck out. How do you forget that? Like someone like, you got a flat ass. He's like, oh,
that's gonna ironically stick out, considering.
Yeah. Considering the flatness
doesn't stick out. Yeah, exactly.
The lack thereof. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Okay, but I know people will be happy that this stuff is passed. I'm just saying that like people have been upset about it.
One less spoiler out there.
Yeah. What did you think of Miles in this challenge?
He was great. Miles was great.
I know, it was so fun. It was such a good moment for him.
They're like,
he got 4 goals. That was crazy.
He said, I'm good at kicking. They're like, is he good at kicking? I mean, he's just a pole dancer. And then he started kicking. Oh, wait, he's good at kicking.
They were mean and dismissive. Yeah, and then he immediately proved them wrong. That was so cathartic. And then they were all like, Miles. And I just imagine them like throwing him in the air and like,
his stripper heels falling off.
Yeah.
Not the Kool-Aid. It's Gatorade.
Whatever. I don't know. Imagine it's like super high in sugar. Fine, Gatorade. They should be wasting all that Gatorade. The best of the aids.
Yeah, sometimes it's just water. Sometimes it's just water. But for the most part, I mean, you got to pour something on somebody. Exactly. But Kool-Aid will be crazy. This was a great moment. I thought the challenge was pretty cool. We haven't seen a lot of that on like US Survivor anytime lately. Like that's something like I remember it was in Nicaragua where they like have to run off and jump and throw the thing through the net. And like somebody had to be a goalie. That's kind of similar to this in a way. Because I always remember Dan Limbo kind of almost running and jumping and then just deciding to just like fall. So that was a cool part of the challenge. But the reward challenge is kind of what I guess we should be talking about more, because we do have this big decision from the tribe. This Flint thing is of course paying off now because Kent is gone, the fire is gone, and we need fire. So do we take the Flint?
Represents life, I hear.
Right. Yes. But also does food kind of represents life too? So it's like, do we take the food or do we take the fire?
The fire represents life.
Yeah, but you got to eat. And so, but you got to eat.
Fire.
You eat with sausages if they are available and hot. And so what did you think about the decision?
What did you think about it? I feel like we're about to disagree. It is indefensible. Obviously you take the fire.
But here's the downside to taking the fire. You're about to feed the other side. And I think that's what made it a difficult choice.
No, that's what they used because they wanted the sausages that they just want. And it's easy to convince each other and yourselves, like, we don't want to feed them. But actually, in terms of beating the other tribe, they're going to have food before every challenge, rice and beans, when you're not going to. I mean, even for the next day, okay, maybe the next day there's still like some residual sausages in their stomach that are helping them at soccer, maybe. But like then for the next challenges, if they have fire and you don't, that's such a huge advantage. Like just feeding them this one time is not going to be the advantage over you that letting them have fire over you for the foreseeable future when maybe theirs could go out. But right now, that's what it is. And that will help them more in many, many challenges. So I think for themselves, they were like, we don't want to do that because it felt strategic, right? To not give them this like leg up, but well, the hot dogs or legs. But actually, they just wanted the hot dogs. And the better thing, of course, the responsible thing is that, as Ali said, take the fire. But Rich does not have any like impulse control. Like Rich wants the big fish. Rich wants the sausages. Rich doesn't want like things that help you live out there for weeks, which is fire, like long-term fire. And Flint, like, yes, you need that. And it's not fun. And I understand morale and I understand that. But like, no, it is
what about
not
morale?
a responsible decision.
What about morale?
No.
Okay, what about
to be like the parent there to be like, do the responsible thing.
Had they not taken the sausages, they wouldn't have won the challenge because they wouldn't have had the strength to go on. They would have had to. They would have.
Miles didn't need it. Miles,
you don't know that. He was tearing those sausages up. He was in there. Look, yeah, I agree with you. Like, it's like the whole, teach a man to fish versus buy.
It was literally what happened last week. Yeah, that was the problem we were given last week. Yeah, they were right then too to take the fishing gear.
Yes, but also I like how entertaining this really was. Like it made a decision out of this. And I like situations where they have to make choices. I also am kind of starting to question people about coming on Survivor and not making fire. Like in the first 20 seasons or so, that was cute, right? But now I'm kind of like,
Without Flint, that's tough.
I mean, it's tough, but also I've been applying for this for 15 years. It's like, okay, well, shit, you
God.
didn't learn how to make fire.
Well, I think
Damn, you
people
did
learn
all
with
of
a
that.
flint. I think people learn like without a flint. Like that
I
is
think
really
by
tough.
now we should start to really like maybe up our skill set if we're gonna be doing this. You know, I'm not judging about look because I definitely can't make no fire without a flint. I probably with a
Being
flint.
on
I've never tried it.
Survivor.
Look, I can make a fire, but not with the tools that they're given. But also never apply. Right? I've never tried it.
What with like a
I've never gone.
match?
Yes, a lighter. A
You're
lighter
turning
is
on
my
the oven?
specialty. A
Yeah.
lighter is my
A
specialty,
lighter?
actually. Oh
You're
yeah, I
so
got a
good
lot
at
of
that.
those. I keep those.
Brilliant.
Oh, trust me, lighters all over here. But yeah, these like the idea that like, okay, yeah, I need a flint to survive. It's kind of like that's the most important thing. A lot of these tribes are getting. You, it probably wouldn't be awful to learn how to do it without a flint. You know, gone are the days of Yao Man and his glasses. You know,
Yeah.
we don't
Look,
do that no more.
I understand that it's not just about the morale. Like giving the Brawn a perceived win and boosting their morale and coming back from winning a challenge with something like Flint, which yes is important, but is not fun. Knowing that the other tribe is eating is like the opposite of a morale booster. Like it's actually upsetting. And I get that. But that could have also pushed them to the win in ways of like, we deserve, like I think that the best thing for them living. I mean, Ali gives all the things that fire will give them in terms of the mosquitoes that then is immediately landing on her, getting away the mosquitoes, warmth to sleep, and just like long-term sustenance and food. Like it's not fun, but it definitely was the right choice. And I don't want to dismiss standing up there for ages and not getting the win, and like you've thought about it the whole time and that's what's like prompted you to the win and you want that thing, and I get it, and now the other tribe's getting it, which is so unfair because you lasted longer. I get it. But unfortunately, it would have been the responsible decision, and they did not make the responsible decision. And it might come back to haunt them in future challenges or just through like living their life.
Yeah.
We don't know when they're going to swap.
We don't know when they're going to swap. Yeah.
Yeah. So I did not agree. But let's talk about Rich in that, because Rich is like such a big part of this. Rich, who's like, he says, like, stop talking to Ali. And then he's like, and then he's like using his hands and all the condiments. And Rich is just, the whole energy from Rich, I feel, is just like, I mean, I wonder what Laura would say about his aura. I mean, she's wanting to align with him. Can't you see that the aura is like a kind of like a sludgy green right now?
Is that bad? Is that a bad aura? Sludgy
It
green?
is for me. I just feel like it's just the aura. It's not aura-ing, Laura.
It's not giving you what you deserve. Yeah, look, I can I say something courageous?
Please.
I think Rich is my favorite this season.
No!
So yeah.
Stop! Ow!
Look, I like the way he talks about the game. I love it.
What did he say? The perplex
It's so
dimension?
colorful. Yeah. He said, I stared into the Milky Way and discovered it was about Logan's ego, and she can't control me as the leader of the VBs.
He's the
and
leader, of course.
Right. And I woke up the next morning and all I see is a manipulator, and she has to go. I was like, this is gripping. I was like, I like this. I like the way they play with the editing when he's talking. They got like the flashes in the background. This was fun. If we lose Rich, who's gonna be doing all the talking? I like this guy. Let him preach.
No, I think if we lose Rich, we'll be basically start over on the energy of the entire season, and I think that might be for the best. As much as it's been entertaining, I feel like we can have like a hard reset on kind of the vibe. And I think for Rich, there's so much, just about like what he's bringing to those conversations. Like there's like an aggression in that I really don't vibe with, and it's also funny to me, like, how AJ is using that. Because, like, AJ doesn't actually want to create this bomb squad, to me. It seems like AJ wants to bury Rich to, again, like, jump over him in the queue of male awfulness that is what, like, the women will be deciding between. So you can, like, claw to your swap and then, like, also maybe link up with people who have, like, clawed to their swap. And I think that what was really interesting with this is that he went to Rich, who, to be fair, had just blown up Indy for telling him very similar information, but actually more devastating. Not just your names being said, but your names being said by your key allies. He even puts Laura in there, and that doesn't feel fair or accurate. But he gives that information that's, like, maybe even harder to believe. Again, some of it actually isn't untrue about Laura, and is surprising about Logan and was really heartbreaking. And last time again, he completely blew up Indy and she went home, and he's trusting Rich not to do that. And I like that he was like, with Ali, I didn't have enough of a foundation. So I think he's built that foundation with Rich, and that's the first thing. And the second thing is he's using Rich's like toddler-like defiance against him, where he's like, well, you'll just blow it up. And Rich is like, no, I won't. So now he won't.
Tell me.
So
you know what blindside is? Yeah.
I don't want a blindside. Don't tell me what I can and can't do. And now he's done it. Good job, AJ. Like that.
And this is 100% Rich's fault anyway, because why did you out your alliance at Tribal Council? Can we go back to that? Why did you do that? And so now he knows
off-putting to Logan that
he knows exactly what to tell you. Yeah, he knows exactly what to tell you though. Like, oh, your alliance. I bet you thought it was a secret. Yeah, it's like he's like, how did you know? Like he said my flesh and blood. I was like, that's not how that works. He said my own flesh and blood was coming for me. I'm sorry, he's so entertaining in the game. Even when we get his perspective at the sausage reward, and he's like watching, he notices that the tribe is basically sitting split, like in the middle, right? The guys on one side, the girls on the other side, and then Miles kind of like hanging out, kind of like with the girls, but like in the middle. And so he's like, I gotta flip Miles. He says, it's going to be real, raw, scary, and we're going to form a new alliance that was formed in risk and danger. I'm like, I want to be a part of the alliance. You know, like,
Chappell.
Yes, put me in the game. Put me in the game.
No.
I'd have flipped. I'd have flipped. This would have got me. I'd have been like, if I'm Miles, I'm like,
they're not flipping.
I like risk. I like danger. Let's do it.
No,
this is boring. The covenant's boring. Let's spice it up.
Well, he's not really even in he's not in the cover. Like, there's nothing to flip from. The women have all the power, and AJ's just gonna bury Rich later. I think the thing is like, what's the plan? The 5-5. I mean, it's definitely built in risk and danger, because it's asking them to go to rocks, which is a lot. And the thing is like, for Rich, why wasn't this a concern to you earlier? Like, AJ finds out about it at the second Tribal Council and has been working on it ever since, to his detriment, to be fair, because the women already had a lot of power. But before they'd ever voted out a member, a lot of information came, even before they got to their first Tribal Council, a lot of information came specifically to Rich that women are saying his name. Now, at that point, if the 5 Coven women without Indy and Kent are voting for Miles, then, you know, like, there's 6 on Miles anyway. But if you can try and maybe go to Kent, at that point, isn't it like, they're saying my name, let's vote out like a Karen, you know, and maybe like Kent will do that. And then we also talked, Mike and I spoke about the possible 5-5-1, even without Kent, last episode, to take out one of the women, even if he didn't want it to be a Logan. Again, it could have been like a Karen, to do that and use the numbers. So like, they had more possibilities possibly then, and now they have like, at absolute best, without even like a Kent or anything, without even the possibility of swinging someone over, it is going to be a 5-5. Like, none of those women are going to turn, as we've learned. So like, it's kind of late to come to this, but it's a good time to bury someone trying to come to it. But it's like, Rich heard women were saying his name so long ago, used it to bury Indy, and I get it. We criticize Indy a lot. Indy didn't do well there. Indy didn't come well to Rich. They didn't know if they could believe it. There was no foundation with Rich. But no part of him in any of the days since thought, am I in a little bit of trouble? And he thought, oh, like, I'm just the leader of the VBs. I have all this power, and didn't have, you know, should have been way more concerned than he was. And I think that's why Laura has held on to him for so long, to be like, we can trust him, because I guess, until this point, he has been bearing his own game for them. For Laura, he'll unintentionally doom you. When you know, now he's done. At the time, it was like, but what will he do even without trying? That was my concern. But yeah, if I was Laura, as she said, he came to him with truth, and he was working for the power of the women to this point. And that wasn't good for him. And it's a bit late to wake up now to be like, we're going to rocks, you know?
Yeah, and it was pretty obvious that what he was doing as well. Like, he's like, he gets all the guys in Miles, and like, all right, Miles, come with us. You know, we're leaving over here. He's like, Miles, like, okay, cool. And then like,
he's
all
like yelling bomb squad, and they're like, what is that?
Right, bomb squad. And then I love that we never get Miles's point of view of the interaction. Like, we never see Miles being like, bomb squad. He's like, yeah, like,
I bet
like,
he has
this
Max.
is going nowhere. Yeah,
yeah,
he has Max.
Yeah, I think it was really sweet though. Like, you know what I really love is like how Kaylin treats Miles. Like, Kaylin's like to Miles so sweetly, like, you'll be okay now. Like, it was, that's nice. Like, I just think like, if Rich is like kind of ousted from this, and then like the rest of the guys, there's a lot to work with. Like, I think AJ should be really contrite, as well as burying Rich or letting him bury himself. Like, AJ and Kaylin and Miles, like, these are the men. Can the people I like just align and vote out the people who want to go home? Why doesn't it work that way?
No, we have an all devouring women's alliance right now, and it's
because you let him devour.
because you let them devour it. And that's why, I mean, we haven't seen it yet, but there's an idol somewhere. What if,
that
you
could be
know,
important.
that could be important because if we needed to swing somebody over, we really don't even need to swing anybody at that point. If we just get an idol, then all of us guys just vote strong and, you know, let the chips fall where they may.
Nice. Well, we'll see how that goes. Until then, I think let's get to the chizzy. Take it away, Jacob Sager-Weinstein and MC Color.
1, 2, 3. 1, 1, 1, 3, 1, 1, 3, 1, 1, 3. It's getting kind of chizzy. 3, 2, 1.
All right.
You know, it's funny that you want to talk about the chizzy considering you don't have any points this time.
Because I went over with Mike.
You went over with Mike. Yeah, don't think I didn't see that.
That
so you have to forfeit
fault.
at least 1 point.
No.
I think your 1 point you can't give away. I think you could do the 3 and the 2, but you cannot give away the 1.
No, I'm giving my point.
You
okay,
broke the
it's
rules.
my podcast.
Is it because Rob said that these are going a little long, and I'm just here to make sure that we.
I think he said a little. I think he said a lot.
Yeah,
he said he wants these to be 20 minutes. Can you imagine?
20 minutes?
I know, exactly. It feels like he's playing the drinking game where you drink every time an athlete says something about integrity. I'm like, what is going
drink every time Shannon does not forfeit her chizzy point that we agreed on.
No.
Every time she goes over an hour, I'm just saying, it sounds like you only have 5 to give out this week.
No, I'm giving all my chizzy points, and I'm giving 3 to Noonan, who I feel like has been very much leading this brawn stuff and is great at splitting. I feel like, again, I really like the split that I went through in detail, and I hope people enjoyed that breakdown and that it made sense. Second, I'm going to give to Paulie 2 points. The other thing is I kind of half criticized Paulie last week because I was like, telling Noonan just about the clue is kind of a half measure. But then hearing Noonan say back that if she found it, she wouldn't tell him, I was like, oh, that kind of gives credence to the fact that, like, there's some trust, but, like, you know, she would understand that you don't give all of that information because, like, game recognizes game. So I really like this duo that are both playing well, but they play really well together, but they also kind of clock each other because they're both playing so hard in a good way, I think. So 3 to Noonan, 2 to Paulie, and I'm giving 1 to Miles. It's very, very rare that I would give, you know, for a challenge performance, but I think it's so much more than a challenge performance. I think it's how people will view him. I think that in itself was like a social move. I think it was such a moment. And even seeing the way like Kaylin, you know, talks to him and all of that, I think his stock is on the rise. So I'm giving a point to Miles. And what are your 6 points that you deserve to give?
Because I did not exceed the 1 hour limit that we discussed and agreed upon and signed a contract about. Okay,
no one signed anything or said anything.
Nope. No, I don't know that. I've heard it other ways. So I do want to give 3 points, but I want to give them to Paulie. I think that for me, I loved Paul. I think this was more his episode than Noonan's. Honestly, we got so much of his perspective, especially with especially with the whole idol thing. There was a moment where I was thinking about giving it to Noonan over Paulie, and it was the moment when they're on the beach and, you know, Nash is clearly going home, and Noonan's like, "Hey, do you want to go look for the idol?" And Paulie's like, "No, why?" She's like, "Because it could be out there." He's like, "Yeah, but it's fine." She's like, "It's probably just sitting out there." He's like, "Oh yeah, I guess I gotta pretend like I care about this." So he kind of forgot, but I still enjoyed that. It's hard to give anybody else on this tribe any points aside from Noonan and Paulie for sure. And so I'll go with Noonan for the 2. And then as far as 1 goes, you gave it to Miles already. I don't want to give 1 to Miles then. Like, it's like, all right.
No, you can.
Well, I mean, just give them all to the same people. That's not fun.
That's fine. Then it's just we agree. It's nice to agree sometimes.
I mean, is it? When have we ever done that? Why would we start that now?
I think it's nice.
Okay, I guess. Yeah, I'll give 1 to Miles then, and mostly because of Miles' positioning in the game. I don't think it's so much about his challenge prowess, but as you can see, he's right in the middle. No one's going to be taking out Miles anytime soon. The guys need him, and if they didn't need him, if they got to shoot at somebody, why would they pick him when there's all of these women that are so clearly aligned? And the women definitely don't need him flipping. So he's not going to be the one they pick off if they decide to. I think he's in a great spot.
Yeah, he's really gone to the back in the queue of male awfulness. Like, I feel like Rich is going to bury himself and AJ.
I'm saying that. Rich is going to be here for a long time. I can't.
Well,
I'm a fan. I'm a fan.
Miles is going to make a swap. Like, he's starting to get enough fodder in front of him, which is very, very positive. And in terms of Paulie and Noonan, I mean, yeah, Paulie could be the most sure that he's like definitely fine on Nash because, again, like he has the idol. But again, they are like, they can be pretty secure in the fact that they're splitting with everyone. But like, even then, Paulie is like super, super sure. So that was good. What I really like about Paulie and Noonan is like, I mean, I like the way that Noonan like undercuts with the humor at Tribal. Like, I'm traumatized from that puzzle. And Paulie is so funny as well when Nash is like, oh, you need me socially at the merge. And he's like, I love how much you have faith in yourself.
I love that you are that confident. I love that for you. That's amazing.
Yeah. Well, this was a good time. And I think we did it under an hour again. Zippy as ever, Chappell.
Yes, because I'm here to enforce the rules and make sure you don't get out of line, and to make sure that your chizzy points are tallied correctly. So, you know, I'll let you slide this time, but next time we're gonna have to, you know, you're gonna have to penalize you if you keep exceeding your expectations. And you know what? You're honestly not the problem. It's Mike's fault. It's really Mike's fault. Yeah, like Mike
is Mike what?
Mike Bloom having boundaries, like as far as like limits, as far as like how much he can talk. Stop it. Stop it.
Mike and I talking for a long time is evident. Anyway, now then you spend so long talking about the limit, the runtime of the podcast, then you start exceeding the limits that we place that are arbitrary and reductive. Like, talk about things being arbitrary and reductive. This is nothing. This is stupid. But follow me at Shannon Gates tomorrow night with Puya, episode 5, and then this week on the feedback show will be Nick. So it's gonna be Puya and Mike, then Nikai Danza. We're gonna have an X interview with someone. Chappell, where can the people find you?
recapkickback.com, youtube.com/@recapkickback. Go and hit that subscribe button, hit the like button on one of those videos and show me some love. All the way from Australia. That would be so nice to have some subscribers from the land down under, because when I come visit, I want to make sure that people know that I know the people. Like, hey, remember me from Recap Kickback? So yeah, hit that subscribe button on YouTube, subscribe to the podcast on all social media platforms, recapkickback.com.
How many Australian subscribers do you need to visit Australia? Maybe we make that the thing. You come stay in my spare room.
Oh my God.
Maybe I should gain something. Like, you know, that's very nice of me.
You're going to gain a visitor
follow me as well
to your home, a house guest. You're going to
Chappell.
gain a house guest.
Yeah,
and then all of my Australian Survivor friends are going to come over and we're all going to hang out. And we're just going to hang out in your house. You could go to work and do whatever. Huh? What? No, I'm going to have a lot of friends. No, I have a lot of friends in Australian Survivor players. Like they don't know we're friends. Like Kirby and Ferris and Eileen. Like, those are my besties.
Ferris can come over. That sounds fun. Kirby and Eileen do live in my state. They'd have to travel, but
yeah, you would have to travel though. You would have to leave so we can hang out with Peter. Like, that's the thing.
Why can't I come?
You know, you're the media. You don't really need to be there.
So mean.
Like, really? You're the media. We can't talk freely and act like loose with the people here telling all our business.
1,000 Australian subscribers, and Chappell will come to Australia, and then I also will require some sort of gift for my kindness of extending an invitation for Chappell to come stay.
I'll come to Australia and I'll wear one of those things.
Speedos. You know?
Yeah, I'll wear one of those. I've never worn one of those before.
Nobody wants this. So this is a podcast we once did on Nobody Wants This. That's the definition.
No, the people want that. Did you see there's a sequel to Nobody Wants? I mean, the second season of Nobody Wants This. Yeah, okay.
We're gonna podcast about it.
Yeah, and y'all should listen to that. But yeah, I'll wear one of the Speedos. I was looking at
Budgie Smuggler.
I'll dress like Jesse. That's what I'll do. I'll dress like how he did on the episode. He was fun. We didn't talk about him at all. But he had a good like swing vote episode, I guess, kind of.
Well, it was good that he didn't flip and seemingly was never going to, and they were just like the drama. But it was bad that Paulie was like, I don't think he has anything, but I think he could like convince dumb people, and then it like cut to Jesse just like being silly. And I was like, from an edit perspective, didn't love it.
That's another one of my friends though. Yeah, he's coming too. He doesn't know it, but he's coming over to. We're all gonna have a party at your house.
To my house.
I mean, yeah, as long as you leave.
Okay. Well. Thank you. We started the podcast talking about pocket rockets. We ended talking about budgie smugglers, and I'm probably just going to end the podcast now right on time. So thank you so much, Chappell.
One size fits all?
No, I don't think so. Thank you to our listeners, and thank you to our team behind the scenes. See you tomorrow. Bye.
Peace.